learn how to solve quadratic equation. That's why we will begin with the first method of solving quadratic equation, which is by extracting the square roots or extracting square roots. Okay. By the way, there are four different methods in solving quadratic equation, and extracting the square roots is one of them. Okay, let us now talk about how do we do extracting the square roots. So when we say extracting the square roots, it will be used once the quadratic equation is in the form wherein b is equal to 0. If we go back with our lesson last time, we agreed that if b is 0, equation is still quadratic because the term containing x squared will remain in the equation. Therefore, we will be having the form wherein we have ax squared plus c is equal to 0. The term containing x was omitted in the equation. But because of the fact that the term containing x squared is still in the equation, we consider this equation as quadratic. Okay, so again, extracting the square roots will be used once b is 0. In other words, the equation is in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0. You will not see the term containing x. All you can see are the terms containing x squared and the number without any variable. Okay, let's have some examples. Let me show you some examples of equations, quadratic equations, which are in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0, wherein we can use extracting the square roots. I will be using an equation tool to show you an example. Let's say, for example, the equation is x squared minus 12 equals 0. Okay, let's say, for example, this is the equation. The given equation is x squared minus 12 is equal to 0. This equation is an example of a quadratic equation wherein b is equal to 0. All you can see is the term containing x squared, wherein this is the ax squared. A is 1 because there's no number here. It is understood to be 1. And then this term, negative 12, is the value of c because it does not contain x. Therefore, bx is removed because b is equal to 0. So this particular equation is an example of quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus c is equal to 0, which can be solved using extracting the square roots. Okay. Another example. Let me show you another example. I will copy this. Okay. This one. Let's say 2 plus 15. The equation 2x squared plus 15 is equal to 0 is also an example of quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus c is equal to 0. The value of a is 2. The value of c is 15. B is not found in the equation because b is equal to 0. This equation can also be solved using the same method, extracting the square roots. So you just need to remember that extracting the square roots will be used every time the quadratic equation does not contain the value of bx. Okay, let us move to the next slide. So it can be represented this way: x squared equals x. So yung c was transferred from left to right, and this time it is a constant. Okay, take note that k, I will emphasize here, k is a constant. When I say constant, it is a number. It is a number. Okay. There are 3 cases in this method. The first case is when k is greater than 0. when we say k is greater than 0, that means the number, the value of the constant is 1 or positive 1 to positive infinity, because we consider all numbers which are positive to be greater than 0. If that is the case, there are two real solutions. Second case is when k is equal to 0. If k is exactly equal to 0, there's only one solution, and that solution is obviously 0. And the third and the last case is when k is less than 0. When we say less than 0, therefore the value of k is negative number. And with that, there is no solution because the number will become imaginary. Let me show you some examples for you to understand what do we mean by these three cases. Okay, let us begin with this example. Okay, let's have this example. The given equation is x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. So this is the given example. So this is the value of ax squared. This is the value of c. Therefore, this can be solved using extracting the square roots because a is 1, b is 0, c is negative 25. So let me show you how to solve using extracting the square roots. First, you need to transfer negative 5. Transpose negative 5 from left to right. Once you transfer negative 25 from left to right, it will become positive 25. So we have now x squared equals 25. And then both sides should be expressed to the square root. So get the square root of x squared and get also the square root of 25. The purpose of getting the square root is for us to remove the square root of x. Because once you find the square root of a term containing x squared, it will be reduced to its simplest form x. This is the point which we call extracting the square roots. So this is acceptable because whatever you do in the left side is the exact same thing we do on the right side. So we find the square root of x squared. We also find the square root of 25. So we get the square root of x squared is equal to the square root of 25. And as I said, once we get the square root of x squared, the value of x is x. And of course, the square root of 25 are two numbers, 5 and negative 5, which is this one. Okay, why do we consider two answers? Because of the fact that 5 times 5 is 25, and the negative 5 times negative 5 is also positive 25. Therefore, every time we get the square root of a number, there are always two answers, one positive and one negative. Therefore, the solutions are 5 and negative 5 because the square root of 25 are positive 5 and negative 5. Therefore, you need to be familiar with the square root of the numbers. And you can do that this way. You need to always consider this table. You need to be familiar with 1 times 1 equals 1, and then 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Next, 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. 5 times 5 is equal to 25. Next, 6 times 6 is equal to 36. 7 times 7 is equal to 49, and so on. Next is 8 times 8, and so on. Okay? Which means all these numbers, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, are called squares. And to find the square root of these numbers will be the number multiplied to itself. For example, in our problem, we have 25. The two numbers multiplied are 5 times 5. Therefore, the square root of 25 is 5. But take note that there is also a case wherein once you multiply negative 1 times negative 1, it will also give us positive 1. Same with the fact that if you multiply negative 2 times negative 2 will give us positive 4. Therefore, in 25, once you multiply negative 5 times negative 5, it will also give us positive 25. And even the rest of the numbers. Because every time we multiply two negative numbers, the result is positive. Same with 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is also equal to 16, which is positive. Same here with 6. Negative 6 times negative 6 is also equal to 36. Same with 7. Negative 7 times negative 7 will also give us positive 49. So my point is that the square root of a number comes in two forms, one positive and one negative. Because once you multiply two negative numbers, will also give us positive number. And that is the reason why here in the previous example, we have two answers, 5 and negative 5. Because the square root of 25 are 5 and negative 5. And those are the solutions for this equation. X squared minus 25 equals 0. The solutions are 5 and negative 5. And it can also be explained this way. Let's have the same example. So this solution is also based on this problem. So this is based on this problem. Solve the quadratic equation x squared minus 25 equals 0. First step, transfer negative 25 from left to right. It will become x squared equals 25. Extract the square roots of the two sides. Pag sinabing extract the square roots, express two sides to square root. X squared will become the square root of x squared. 25 will become the square root of 25. And when you say square root, it is raised to 1/2. Again, pag sinabing square root, it is raised to 1/2. Therefore, makancel ito. So when you express this to raise to 1/2, yung 2 na exponent ng x will be cancelled because 2 times 1/2 is 1. And then here, the square root of number is same with expressing the number to a fractional exponent, which is 1/2. Therefore, the square root of 25 is equal to 25 raised to 1/2, which is equivalent to 5 and negative 5. The solutions, therefore, the solutions are 5 and negative 5. Okay? So that is an example. Yes, Eliza? You raise your hand, Eliza?
Ma'am, paano po pag, ano lang po, for example, x squared equals 15 po, for example.
X squared equals 15. Ang example, ang question mo? Tama, Eliza?
X squared equals
Equals
15 po.
15. Yan. So, ito yung question ni Eliza. What if the problem, what if the problem asked is, what is the, solve x squared equals 15 using extracting the square roots. So, x squared equals 15 is already in the form x squared equals k. If we will trace it back to standard form, it should be equal to this way. It is x squared minus 15 equals 0. Okay? Lagi siyang x squared equals 15 because negative 15 was transferred from left to right. Kaya nagkaroon ng x squared equals 15. To solve x squared equals 15, you will just follow the same way. Extract the square roots of both sides. So it will be x squared equals 15 will be the square root of x squared equals the square root of 15. But since 15 is a number wherein hindi siya perfect square, you cannot find 15 in this table. Basta dito yung 15. Because 15 is not a perfect square. Since hindi siya perfect square, you cannot express it like 5 and negative 5. You can think of two numbers multiplied when the result is 15, which are 5 and 3. But both of them are prime numbers. Therefore, square root of 15 cannot be simplified. The solutions are just equal to itself, I will just copy. So, kapag hindi na siya kayang matanggal sa square root, the answer will remain as square root of 15, and of course, the negative value of that, because we are working with square root. Therefore, the solutions are square root of 15 and negative square root of 15. Okay na? Ano, Eliza?
Opo.
Okay. Another example. Thank you for that question. Let's have another example. Let's say, for example, I will use 12. X squared minus 12 equals 0. First step, transfer negative 12 from this side to the other side. It will become x squared equals 12. Naging positive siya because I transferred 12 from left to right. And the next step is to extract the square roots of the both sides. It will become the square root of x squared equals the square root of 12. So, if we will go back to the table, yung table na to, you cannot find 12 dito sa mga square na numbers. Therefore, 12 is not a perfect square. But we can use two numbers. Once you multiply them, the result is 12. I can think of two numbers which are the numbers 4 times, I will use that 4 times, okay? 4 times 3. Allow me to use an equation. Baka mabasa niyo 4.3. So, I will use two numbers which when you multiply, the result is 12. Those two numbers are 4. Those two numbers are 4 and 3. 4 times 3. Okay? Yung 12 was expressed as 4 times 3 because 4 times 3 equals 12. Okay. There are other two numbers when you multiply, the result is 12. It can be 6 times 2. But we need to use 4 times 3 because 4 is a perfect square. Okay? Because you can find 4 in this table. Meaning 4 is a perfect square. So do not use 6 times 2 because 6 is not a perfect square, 2 is not a perfect square, but 4 is a perfect square. Therefore, it can be written outside the square root. So we will get this answer. Since 4 is a perfect square, it can be written outside the square root. So we can write this outside. What is square root of 4? What is the square root of 4? The result is 2. So as you can see, 4 was removed inside the square root and it was written outside the square root because 4 has a square root since it is a perfect square, which is equivalent to 2. And since we are referring to square root, there should be two values. The two values are positive and negative 2 the square root of 3. So we should write here, I will go back to this symbol, copy ko na lang. We should have two answers. So positive and negative 2 the square root of 3. By the way, this one can be simplified as x. So the square root of x squared is equivalent to x. Therefore, we have the answers positive and negative 2 the square root of 3. So if we will write now the solutions are, the first solution is 2 the square root of 3, while the other solution is negative 2 the square root of 3. And this still falls in case, this particular problem still falls in case number 1, wherein k is greater than 0 because here k is 12. Any questions with this example? Hello? Any question with this example? Okay, wala. Okay, let me answer one problem dito sa book, page 19. Hindi na muna yun kasi ano pala yun. Doon tayo sa extract me. Page 23 na lang. Activity 6, extract me. Page 23, activity 6, extract me. I will answer number 10. Problem number 10. The given problem is, so use extracting the square roots in order to extract the quantity 2s minus 1 squared. Sorry, naka-squared pala. So we need to solve by extracting the square root. The problem is 2s minus 1 squared is equal to 225. So that is the given problem. Can you follow sa book ang tinype ko? Tinype ko na problem is the quantity 2s minus 1 squared equals 225. So let us solve this. So naka-squared yung left side. Let us first remove yung squared ng left side. And to do that, to remove the squared of the left side, we need to express both sides to square root. Okay? Again, to remove the squared of the left side, both sides should be expressed to square root. The left side, this one, erase ko muna tuloy. So both sides should be expressed to square root. So itong nasa left side na the quantity 2s minus 1 squared should be expressed to square roots. And same with the right side. 225 should also be expressed to its square root. The reason why both sides were expressed to square roots for us to remove the squared of the left side. Okay, once we express the left side to square root, the squared of the quantity 2s minus 1 will be removed. It will become 2s minus 1. And then equals, while for the right side, we need to find the square root of 225. Is 225 a perfect square? Can you think of a number multiplied by itself? The answer is 225. What number is that? What number multiplied to itself? The result is 225. 5? No. 5 times 5 third is only 25. It should be 225. 15, correct. Correct, 15. Therefore, okay, correct. Therefore, 225 is a perfect square because 15 times 15 equals 225. Therefore, we can now continue the solution as 2s minus 1 equals, again, pag square root po, there are two values. One is positive and one negative. So we will write positive and negative 15. Okay, next step. Continue the solution. We now have 2s equals positive and negative 15. Positive and negative 15. And then negative 1 should be transferred from left to right. It will become positive or plus 1. So how did we get plus 1? It was from transferring negative 1 from left to right. Kaya naging plus 1. And then, next step, we need to remove 2. 2 should be removed here beside s. So we can remove 2 beside s by expressing both sides as divided by 2. So we will have now 2s divided by 2 to remove 2 beside s equals, since we divide 2 the left side, it should also be done on the right side. So it should also be positive and negative 15 plus 1 divided by 2. Because we divide 2 the left side, the right side should also be divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So the 2 beside s will be removed. It will give us s equals, here we need to write the right side. Positive and negative 15, of course it is still fraction. So positive and negative 15 plus 1 all over 2. Okay, and let us now find the two solutions, the two values of s. So to find the first value of s, we will use the positive value of 15. So positive value of 15 equals, so you will write now s is equal to 15 plus 1 all over 2. And then since we know that 15 plus 1 is equal to 16, and then we copy 2. What is 16 divided by 2? 8. Okay, so the first value of s is 8 because it is from 15 plus 1 divided by 2. 15 plus 1 is equal to 16 divided by 2 is equal to 8. While the second value of s will be obtained by using the negative value of 15. So we write negative 15 plus 1 all over 2. Negative 15 plus 1 is equal to negative 14 divided by 2 is equal to negative 7. Therefore, the second value of s is negative 7. So we can now write the solutions are 8 and negative 7. So those are the two values of s, 8 and negative 7. That is the answer for the question in your book on page 23, item number 10. Okay, how can we check if these answers are correct? To check if 8 and negative 7 are solutions for this equation, you just need to replace them in the value of s. So let me show you how to check if the solutions are correct. So we will use the exact same equation, which is the given, the quantity 2s minus 1 squared equals 225. Let us now check if s equals 8 correct. To do that, just replace s with 8. Replace s with 8. If s is 8, it will become 2 times 8 minus 1 squared equals 225. Of course, we first need to multiply 2 and 8. Answer is 16. Next is to subtract. Subtract 16 and 1. 16 minus 1 is equal to 15. And then next step is to square 15. 15 times 15 is 225. And it will leave us 225 is equal to 225. Therefore, 8 is a solution. 8 is correct. Let us try the second value of s, which is negative 7. Negative 7. Let us replace negative 7 to the equation. So we have, instead of 8, we write negative 7. Next, 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Negative 14 minus 1 is equal to negative 15. And then square negative 15, meaning negative 15 times negative 15. The result is positive 225. Therefore, it proves that negative 7 is also a solution of the equation. That gives us the proof that the solutions for the quantity 2s minus 1 squared equals 225 are the numbers 8 and negative 7. Ano? Any questions? Any questions? Now, if the second case is 0, let's say for example here, t squared equals 0. Since k is 0, again, k yung nasa right side na number, k is 0, meaning it falls in the second case. There's one solution, and the solution is 0. That is the second case. Now, let us move to the third case, this one, the third case. The third case is when k is less than 0, meaning negative number yung k. For example, the equation is s squared plus 16 equals 0. First step, transfer 16 from left to right. Once you transfer 16, it will become negative 16, which means negative 16 is less than 0. So it will fall under case number 3. This is case number 3. Sorry. This is case number 3, wherein k is less than 0. Because in this case, k is negative 16. Obviously, negative 16 is less than 0. In short, kapag negative po ang k, there's no real solution. The solutions are imaginary numbers. Okay, any questions with... So these are some examples. For example, first equation, m squared equals 64, solve. A question ni Edward, ano nga po yung case 2? Case 2 is k is equal to 0. Case number 2 is when k is equal to 0, there is one solution, and that solution is 0. You can find the cases sa book nyo, page 21. Page 21. Okay na, Edward? Did I answer your question? Sabi mo, ano yung case 2? Okay. Ang case 2, kapag ang k equals 0. Ulitin ko. Case 1 is when k is greater than 0 or positive number. Case 2 is when k is equal to 0. And case 3 is when k is equal to, k is less than 0 or if k is equal to a negative number. So those are the 3 cases of extracting the square roots. Wala ng question? So this one, m squared equals 64 is case 1. There are 2 solutions, 8 and negative 8. Next, this one. This is also case 1. K is equal to 9. K is equal to 9. Therefore, it is greater than 0. The solutions are 3 and negative 3. Third example, transfer 49, it will become negative 49. Negative 49 is less than 0. Therefore, there is no real solution because k is equal to negative number. This is case number 3. Next example, this one is an example of case number 1 because k is 12. 12 is greater than 0. Next is this one is also case number 1 because k is 4. 4 is greater than 0. Next, this one, as pag-check na lang to. Example. Paulit nga po pag hindi po perfect square ang k. If k is not a perfect square, but if it is greater than 0, you need to extract the square roots. Halimbawa, nga, yung kanina, kapag ang k is 12. Okay, kapag ang k is 12, pero ang 12 hindi perfect square, kailangan mo hanapin yung dalawang numbers na kapag multiply mo, 12, isa doon perfect square. Ba, ang 12 is 4 times 3. Ang 4 perfect square, pwede mo siyang ilabas. Pero kapag totally hindi siya talaga perfect square, and wala din siyang factors na perfect square, say for example, yung 15 kanina na example natin. This one, yung 15. Okay, 15 is the value of k. K is greater than 0 kasi 15, positive 15. Pero hindi siya perfect square. Hindi siya perfect square. And kapag figure out mo siya, ang 15 baga, 15 is equal to 5 times 3. Sa 5 tapos sa 3, wala din siyang perfect square. Therefore, you leave us your answer as square root of 15 tapos negative square root of 15. You cannot extract the square root of 15 anymore. Pero kapag kaya pang extract, like for example sa 12, you need to extract the square root by using the two values 4 and 3, which are the product. But when you multiply them, the product is 12. Yes, Micaela, you raise your hand.
Ma'am, pwede po yung mga papakita mong example, pwede pong lagay mo ng case para po pag in-screenshot namin, ma'am, pag
Dito
ni-review.
yung value ng k dito.
Lalagyan ma'am yung kung ano pong case.
Okay. Lalagyan ng anong case? Okay,
Opo.
for example, this one. First example natin. Here,
Yeah, thank you po, ma'am.
okay. This particular example is an example of case number 1 because k is greater than 0. K here is equal to 25. Diba 25 is greater than 0. Since 25 is greater than 0, it will fall in case 1. Next example, ito same, case 1 din yan. Here, our example is x squared minus 15 equals 0. Transform to x squared is equal to 15. Therefore, it still falls in case 1, wherein k is greater than 0 because k here is equal to 15. We all know that 15 is greater than 0. So, this example is case 1. Next is this. X squared minus 12 equals 0. 12 yung value ng k. Still in case 1 because k is greater than 0. K here is equal to 12. We all know that 12 is greater than 0. So, case 1 pa rin. Na-follow nyo yung ginagawa ko? Yung sinabi ni Micaela para clear. Hello? Okay po? Next, here, ito na yung nasa book. Nasa book nyo ito, yung example number 10. Here, ang k dito is equal to 225. 225 is greater than 0, which means k here is greater than 0. Therefore, it will fall in case 1 also. There are two solutions, 8 and negative 7. Ito yung pag-check lang to. Next is this one. Ito muna. This one. T squared equals 0. Here, k is equal to 0. Therefore, this is in case 2. So, case 2, k equals 0. While this one is in case 3 because k here is equivalent to negative 16. We all know that negative 16 is less than 0 kasi negative number siya. Therefore, this example will fall in case number 3. Hello? Okay na ba? Hello?
Opo, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Dito, sa mga example na to, kahit hindi mo pa siya i-solve, let us now determine kung anong case siya. Let's say, for example, this one. M squared equals 64. Case 1, 2, or 3? And you can type your answer sa chat box or you can unmute your mic. Case ano to? Case number?
1.
Case number 1, correct. Kasi ang K dito is 64. 64 is greater than 0. Next, number 2. Number 2 is also case number 1 because k is 27. Pero pag nidivide mo siya by 3, 9. It is still in case 1. Next, how about number 3? X squared plus 49 equals 0. Case number
2.
No. This is not number 2. This is case number 3. Correct, Edward. Case number 3 because once you transfer 49 from left to right, it will become negative 49. Negative 49 is less than 0. Next, number 4. This is case number 1.
Oh.
Case number 1. Correct, A. Case number 1. Because when you transfer negative 12 from left to right, it will become positive 12. How about number 5? Question number 5. Case number 1 also. Kasi positive yun nasa right side. Kapag nasa right side 0, pero may number pa naman sa left na walang variable, kaya transfer mo pa siya papunta sa left, sa right, di ba? Tina-transfer bagay yung number papunta sa right. Pero kapag wala nang totaling number sa left, halimbawa, ganito na lang, x squared equals 0, yan yung case 2. Kasi wala ka namang number na transfer pa. Yan yung case 2. Pero kapag may ganitong number, na may positive 49, ilipat mo pa yung 49 kasi may siyang case 3. Bakit case 1 ang number 5? Because the value of k is positive. May 5 dito, divide mo both sides by 5, may gitong 4. So, x minus 2 squared equals 4. 4 is positive. So, it is greater than 0. It will fall in case number 1.